Okay, again, slowly just getting the sim up and running and the monitor for the live stream up and running. Shouldn't take long. Clever Trevor, that's a great username. Evening. Steve Ellis, good evening. Okay, so slowly getting everything back up and running. So we're at a place I've never flown from before called Susanville, which is north of Lake Tahoe. It's a pretty big airfield. Just check the volume levels. So I'm coming through okay. The simulator seems to be coming through okay as well. Okay. So we're going to jump inside the airplane. William says hello as well. Hi, William. Okay, so shall we have some fun and actually program a route in this time? Or some semblance of a route. So if we go into controls, should we go for the GTN? I've got the PMS GTN 750 installed, so that should work. So we'll go and remove the chocks. We're going to cheat a little bit and use the tablet to do things instead of going all the way around the outside of the airplane again. So control lock, we can remove that. Pitot cover, we can remove that. The rest of it we can do inside the aeroplane. So let's go and see what we've got in terms of payload. So can we just zero this out some quick way? Seat 3, £100. Seat 4. How do we pretend we're carrying nobody? That's an interesting one, isn't it? Just click it and no passenger is assigned. Oh, I see. So if there's no number showing, that weight is not in the seat. I see. I get it now. So if we go into controls, does anybody know what the giant T does? I haven't figured that one out yet. So if we show visible passengers and go back to payload, if we go seat 2 for example, whoa, there he is. So then if we went seat 4 and £100, we get a girl sat in the back. Very cool. And seat 3 on £100. The scariest looking guy staring at the back of my head since the movie It. T is for tow bar. Okay. Oh, hello. Sim has just frozen. I haven't seen that for a while. Let's wait for it to wake back up. Of course, all the controls will flick all over the place. There we go. There's the tow bar. Interesting. Okay, does that mean we can push it? Maybe not. I'll have to read the book for that one. Keep the chick. No, I'm fine. I'll be in splendid isolation inside the aircraft on my own. I was looking at the fuel payload actually. So we got 30 gallons. So if we've got full each side, we're not going to bother with the tip tanks. We're not going that far. I haven't flown this airframe before, so we'll just inspect it. It should be fine, and it is fine. I haven't mangled the engine, so the engine should be fine. Okay, shall we get this thing fired up? Fuel shut-off valves. Prime the engine. Let's go full rich mixture. It's a good point actually. What altitude are we at? We're at 4,000 feet already. So we won't be fully rich mixture. Okay, so master power switch on, rotating beacon on. So we'll let the engine run at 1000 RPM for a little while. And then we're going to get the avionics on. So I need to have a quick look at our nav map here. So we're at Susanville, KSVE. Fly down to Tahoe, KTVL. But on the way, we're going to go via many other airfields. So if we go into here, insert after, and say Rogers, so 005. Enter. Then after Rogers, we will go to Gansner 201. Then Nevada County, I'm guessing that is, KG00. Yeah, that's correct. And then Placerville, KPVF. And then after that, Bear Valley, 73CA. Then after Bear Valley, Alpine, County M45. Okay, and then we can go back out of here, go back to the map, and zoom out. We get some bearings. Hurrah! And come back out of there. pressure's good, oil pressure's good, oil temperature's good. Brilliant. We ought to have a look, I guess, at the airfield layout. Susanville Municipal. So there's 1 knot of wind. So we're going to double back on ourselves basically, and then go for the just corrected the gyro compass, and I think we're pretty much there. So we're just going to be visually following the GPS. I know this has an autopilot in the tablet, but I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to hand fly it. It's a good point though. Are there any ADF stations around? Probably there aren't, are they? This is all going to be hand flying down through the hills basically. Have a bit of fun along the way. Okay. What have I missed? What have I missed? Check the lights. So we'll wait until we get to the runway apron to put the strobes on. I think we're pretty good. This place has a touch of the Los Alamos about it, doesn't it, with all the huts? It was probably built the same era for the same reasons, to be honest. Mind you, these are stock buildings. This isn't realistic to the real place. It's a fascinating looking place, isn't it? Okay, so if we got this, I guess the transponder's built into here somewhere, isn't it? Yeah, so transponder on. Enter. And then Peter, he can come on, the strobe light can come on. We're not commercial traffic, so we don't need to worry about the landing lights, I guess. See, it's got an autopilot switch, but I'm damned if I know where the buttons are for it. Or if there are any. I mean, I know there's stuff in the tablet for it. Oh, okay, so oh, I see. I'm just reading the live stream comments. So this is the auto... Yeah, okay, push mode. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, interesting. Oh, we might have a play with it later then. Should we get in the air? Knots. Starting to move around a little bit on the runway there. Gear up. So 120 degrees, we'll do a turn back to reciprocal. Pull the throttle back a little, sorry, the RPM back a little bit. That was Susanville. We just left. Not flown around this part of the Sierra Nevada mountains before. So should we have a play with this then? So if we go and set our course. Although I suppose the course doesn't do anything if you're in GPS mode, does it? Or we're going to have a real nightmare with this, aren't we? Let's move the heading bug round. Can we press the heading bug as well? Yes, we can. It's just a bit tricky with the airplane moving around. So what's the temperatures looking like? So we've got 80 degrees outside air temperature. Oh my word, it's hot. Windy, isn't it? I've not actually tried out the headphones yet, so if we go and click on the jacks, then it makes it a lot quieter. It's quite cool, isn't it? Right, should we try out this amazing autopilot? So if I put this heading bug okay, that's caging it. Push, set, cut. Interesting. Oh, okay, so it doubles up as the heading bug and the adjusting the gyro compass. I've got it. Makes sense. So if we go autopilot on, then this is going to do various modes. I presume HD is heading mode, yeah, because the airplane's pitching that way. So then, once the autopilot's on, we just have to trim it ourselves, I'm guessing, for elevator. Or trim becomes... Now, is it going to... I think it's just going to be a continual job, isn't it, to look after attitude. So you've got track, trim up, down. Okay. So altitude hold is on the yoke. Oh yes, so it is. So that's got that. So presumably we're going to see the trim lights. I'll have to go read the book. I've not read the book yet. So someone's asked what the coolest feature I've found so far is. Oh, that's a difficult question. Oh, look at that. The autopilot's got quite a lot of lag to it, hasn't it? Although we are being blown around. I mean, let me just go and check the engine instruments, make sure I'm not killing it. Cylinder head temperature's in the green. Manifold pressure's probably a bit low, actually. But we've got engines against the stops. Let's see how much difference carb heat makes. Although we're silly temperatures outside, aren't we? We don't want carb heat. It's fine. ADF isn't actually tuned into anything. Gyro suction's good. And what's the other ones we get then here? Auxiliary fuel, landing gear. So that needs to go to off, I guess. So it's not charged the whole time, a bit like the 737. So you can see we're making our way across the map here. 7,500 feet. It's struggling, isn't it, to maintain attitude, but then it's quite windy. So let's have a look at the wind on... Yeah, we've got 25 knot winds going on, like pushing us all over the place. And the wind is barreling over these hills and hitting us, which is why we're not going in a nice straight line. I'm hoping when we see Rogers and go to the weather on the ground, we can just hover over it, can't we, in LittleNavMap? So down on the ground, oh no, it's 14 gusting 21, okay. This was a bad day to do this, wasn't it? Oh well, at least we'll get some tests of what the airplane's like on a windy approach. So at Rogers, where's the wind coming from again? So 260 degrees. So it's a complete crosswind with gusting, although we could use the unused dirt runway. I think it'd be interesting to see what the crosswind does. So there's the lake. That's the near one now. We're looking at the far one over there. So the airfield's just on the far side over there then. Sam says, can I join you? Yes, of course you can. I'm on the West USA server, so there's somebody else who's joined us already. That looks like the V-tail. Oh, I forgot what it's a Coronado aircraft, isn't it? The Doctor Killer, as they call it. But what's the actual model number of the V-tail? Is it one of the PA-28s? I can't remember. Or is it a Bonanza? It's a Bonanza, isn't it? I can see him over there. Very cool. It's doing a pretty good job of holding altitude, considering with the wind being pitching us all over the place. So with both tanks open, I'm guessing there must be some automated system to drain them both. I haven't put a fuel pump on, So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So according to this, 12 miles away from our first destination. Charging along at 160 knots. It's a really quick plane, isn't it? Shall we look from outside? There's the V-tail is up there somewhere. It's a long way away. I like that they haven't tried to do an animation on the nose boss. It winds me up when people do the animations on the nose boss. It always looks really, I don't know, clunky. So this is in knots on the inside track. Miles an hour on the outside track. Okay, so I'm doing 140 knots, 145. I'm hearing beeping. Is this a beeping I should be aware of? Just looking at the gauges. Or is it just the GTN 750 telling us we're within 10 miles maybe when it went beep? No, that would have been maybe 8 miles when it started beeping. Or maybe the wind's gusting and chucking it into overspeed and it's beeping because of that. Okay, so we can see the airfield out ahead of us. So we're going to have a look at the map. We want to come off the autopilot. Some room to turn for the approach, and we'll have a go at this vicious crosswind landing. Be interesting to see what the flight model's like. If we try and approach, if we do the slide slip technique to keep the aeroplane lined up, and then just obviously dip the wing to do our lateral positioning, that would be quite good fun. So you can see the runway down there. Slow the propeller down a bit. Get rid of some of this speed. I think I'm going to have to make a custom control profile for the undercarriage for this. Yeah, so there's the runway. We'll let's turn reciprocal just to lose some height and speed as we do it. Of course, we're not going to see anything for a moment. So what's the actual end up circling out here for a while to lose the speed, because of course we're at high altitude anyway, so the air's thinner. Because there's the airfield, but look how fast we are. I guess I could start side slipping out here, couldn't I? So let's pull it into the wind a little bit. Just trying to side slip it on this kind of snaking approach. See what happens. Doesn't want to lose any speed. Let's get the gear down, see if that drag helps it at all. I only want to do a touch and go. It's like a bit of a missile. Cut the engine right back. Now going round. The wind is playing havoc with us today. Whoa, as soon as I let go of the rudder there, it wanted to skitter off across the tarmac. That was interesting. Okay. So we begin to fly further south, and hopefully the wind is a little bit better the further we go into the hills. really being chucked around, isn't it? Just corrected the gyro compass again. It drifted off alarmingly. Just checking it against the whiskey compass. Yeah, it was a lot different. I'm just going to do a maneuver here in case nobody's seen this yet. I'm going to do a high G tight turn. Watch the... I'll get in the middle of the cockpit to do this. Watch the shades. I'll increase the RPM up to max. Right, okay, watch the shades. That just makes me laugh every time. Have a look and see how much I've mangled the engine so far. It's looking pretty good. Alternator is providing power to the cockpit, battery is full. Very good. And if we inspect the engine, we've not done anything disastrous to it yet. The texture quality is absolutely fantastic all the way through it. The modelling of all of the structures, it's very good. Even minor things that you wouldn't, necessarily look at normally. Very, very good. I actually look where I'm going tonight, because there's a Southern Great Hill in front of us. Do we go over or round is the question. I'm inclined to go over the top. We've got plenty of airspeed. Just coming up to 6,000 feet. Wonder how windy it is out there. Yeah, I don't think there's any arguing. This is by far the best GA aircraft in the simulator so far. So I guess it takes that crown from the the Black Square aircraft. Although they're working on the Duke, or he is. There's Black Square's one guy, I don't know if you knew that. He's working on the Duke, isn't he? At the moment. So it'll be interesting to see that when it comes out as well. What is going on with the multiplayer today? Very odd. I wonder if it's the West USA server that's causing that. It was okay earlier though, wasn't it? It's particular aeroplanes, I think. This turbulence isn't any fun, is it? Should we see if we can zoom in a bit on the map? Have to do this so I can't really let go of the aeroplane to go and consult the charts. We haven't really tried the comm radios yet, have we? We ought to try it. So Ganser Field comm flight service station 122400. No ATIS out here. 135600 AWOS. Let's try that. The wrong frequency now. There we go. So 192 degrees, 8 knots. That's what we wanted to know. So we'll switch back away from that. Yeah, that plane is still stuttering. It must be a jet that's doesn't appear correctly for other people. .26011 knots, this is saying. So again, it's another crosswind. Oh no, sorry, no, we should be fine. We can come in, we'll fly out. So we'll turn left, fly out over the flats, and then come in. So there's the airfield behind the hill down there. So we'll fly out over here, descend down. What happens if we remove the wires? Oh, that's unbearably loud, isn't it? So there's the airfield. So we're going to descend down over here and then come in for our touch and go into a nice strong headwind. Well, that's the plan. Whoa. So when I fed in the rudder at the last touch and go to hold the centre line of the runway on approach, it did require quite a lot of aileron as well, a kind of adverse aileron to keep it straight. It was kind of bucking around quite a lot. Okay, there goes nothing. That's the wrong way. Stupid controls. It's done it again. Had this earlier. This is the problem of a plane moving around and then you're trying to use head tracking and your head is pitching all over the place as well. Which means I'm now going to have to side slip to lose height in a hurry. And speed. Flaps down. And now we're in the shelter of the hills. Look, the wind's gone. How amazing is that? I tipped it into the direction of the runway at the last moment. Whoa! Get it bucking around on the airfield. You can see the offset there for the wind. It's quite amusing. Okay, so what's the speed like? Yeah, I don't think we're gonna. It's gonna be a bit touch and go. I might have to escape out to the right. The speed's coming up though. Let's go full RPM. No, we're not going to do it. I'm going to turn. Remember, we're already quite high altitude, so we're already at 4,000 feet. Going for a silly climb when we haven't got the airspeed to do it reliably would just be a suicide job. So just do a climbing turn, 1,000 feet a minute. Nose is all over the place, just watching the vertical speed as we come into and out of the wind with it gusting. It's becoming a bit of a handful. Should now be good to get over the top of the hill. Lean the engine out a bit more. So I've just seen somebody talking about X-Plane in the livestream chat. I used to fly X-Plane 11 all the time, and I've dithered about buying X-Plane 12. And I know lots of people who have bought it, but I think it would be such a step backwards now. It would be quite... I'd have to spend a lot of money to bring it up to speed with even a small area of the world to look similar to Flight Sim. And the flight model of some of the aircraft in Flight Sim is now as good as, if not better than, X-Plane, according to real pilots that have reviewed them back to back. Obviously not all of the aircraft, but then that's true of X-Plane as well. Some of them are terrible. Okay, whizzing over the hilltop here. Feet. Let's just trim it out so we don't have to keep any back pressure. So shall we try and get this autopilot working again so I don't have to concentrate quite so much. So autopilot is on, but it's not engaged, it's in ready at the moment. So heading track and then altitude hold, which has lit up the little blue button there, which is good, and the trim's working. So it's, the beeping we heard was the trim then earlier. That makes sense. Let's pull the RPM back a bit. There's no need to thrash the guts out of this. He says running the engine at full throttle, but the manifold pressure looks fine. Just go and check the gauges. So it's all looking good. Oil pressure's a bit high. What's the outside air temperature? 70 or 22-ish centigrade. So faux flights is, yeah, it has become a bit of a millstone that people now kind of expect me to take a look at every airplane going. I was amazed yesterday when I looked at the little Cessna T-37, is it? That I'd not spotted it in Flight Sim 2. It's very, very good, and because it's free as well. But yeah, even though I put a lot of content out, obviously, or have done recently. Oh, hello, Sim's frozen. Let's see if it wakes back up. Give it a moment. There it goes. Yeah, quite often people will ask me if I'm a real pilot, and no, I'm not. I'm just an aviation enthusiast like anybody else that plays around with a simulator. Why is that getting a white border around it? What does that mean? Is it a bug, or is that a function of the unit? I think that might be a bug. The trouble is I'm reluctant to change the system now because that must have a meaning. Oh, okay, so it's a function of the head tracker and trying to render the display in the right place. So if I turn head tracking off, will it stop doing that? Yeah, it does, look. Yeah, great shout, thank you for that. If I turn head tracking back on, it stopped doing it now. I wonder if it only does it if the head tracking has wandered off around the cockpit. or if it's kind of lost its bearings. How far have we got to go anyway? 30 miles to the next airfield. Should we go and have a look at it on the map? I think we've got plenty of altitude. We probably need to, having said that, we need to go and tune this to go right a bit, don't we? Fighting into a headwind all the way down to Nevada County. So if we put a marker in the map of where we are, then we get the actual direction that we need to go. We are shifting though, look at the speed, oh my word. About 150 knots at times, touching on 180 miles an hour. So the Flight Sim 2020 Game Pass version should still have the community folder, shouldn't it? Because I used to have the Game Pass version before I bought the outright version of it. So if you look in your File Explorer, it will be wherever the simulator is installed. Now I've moved my simulator, or sorry, I've moved my packages folder, but wherever the simulator is actually installed, you should be able to find a package folder, and inside there you'll have official and community, so you can just throw anything in there. Obviously you can see I'm using add-on linker, which means I can control exactly what's in the sim at any one time. But yeah, just do a search online, find the community folder location for the Game Pass version. I'm guessing it's going to be on C drive, unless you've manipulated the Xbox app maybe to target a different directory for installs. Haven't looked in the back yet, have we? It's a bit more difficult. Let's turn the head tracking off a moment and have a look around the aeroplane using the old technique that I used to use. Very cool. So do these work? Oh, that does rotate. I don't know what it does. Oh, it's just a fan, okay. To vent some air from the outside into the cockpit. Very cool. So someone else is asking about passengers. So if we go and put the it's in payload, isn't it? So if we go and put somebody in seat 4, I think it was, that did a young girl. And should we put in someone in seat 2 as well? So do they change according to weight? So if I were to of course this is becoming a so-and-so to do because of the aeroplane pitching around, but even that close to it we can't get it to do it. So does she change? No. Did she get taller? Maybe. Is it scaling her? Her head was nearly against the ceiling there. Oh god, this is a pain in the backside, isn't it? Let's turn head tracking off. I think it's still going to do it because of the wind. Not as badly though. she get smaller? No. So she just appears the size she appears. We have got this slightly freaky dude that was staring, looks like a serial killer. I'm probably saying that, and I bet it's one of the development team that's been scanned. Oh dear. What about baggage? If we look around, oh, the baggage will be in the back though, won't it? There's a stowage area behind these seats. Anyway, it's all good fun. How are we doing on track? 16 miles. So we probably need to start descending. So should we come off of autopilot, or can we control pitch on the autopilot somehow? So while it's on altitude hold, does the pitch trim? It does appear to manipulate it, but it comes back to 0. Okay. So disengage altitude hold and just control the pitch on the way down. We'll just use the trim. Let the autopilot carry on with heading mode. Need to be careful about overspeeding, I guess. Pull the throttle back a bit. So B King said they released this. Yes, it came out today. A2A put this in their store on their website today. It's funny, I'd only sent them an email about 5 minutes before it appeared in the store, asking them if there was any way I could get an advance copy, you know, if I paid them, to start recording a video with it, to prepare to do a video. And just after I sent the email, I refreshed their website and it said it was out. It's quite funny. I did have an issue with it this morning. I'll show you it now actually. There's a program that runs in the simulator. So when you run this aircraft, this program appears in the tray, and it does that by a service that launches it. So I'm not sure if it'll still be in the list here. Yeah, here we go. So in the actual location where the flight simulator executable is stored on your computer, which is in App Data, Local Packages, Microsoft Flight Simulator, Local Cache, there's an exe XML file. If we open that with Notepad to show you it, the last program that was in here, I think, or one of them, was the Phoenix. I can't remember which was broken now, but either the Phoenix or the Mad Dog had mangled XML. So when they had injected their own little add-on into the startup with Flight Sim, they'd mangled the XML. Therefore, when I installed the Comanche, that didn't get added in because the installer couldn't make sense of the XML to figure out where to put it. So it's just something to be aware of, and I'm not the only person it happened to. It happened to several people. Whoa, here's some interesting scenery coming up. This looks like a glitch. Yeah, it's got the wrong altitude data for this little path. I've seen this happen before in the sim. Usually as you get close to something like this, it will disappear. Yeah, it's got the wrong altitude data. It's quite rare that you see it, but it does happen. Okay, so we should be approaching the airfield soon. The Great Wall of Tahoe. So we are, how far are we away? 5 miles out, so it must be just the other side of this ridge, I guess. And we've got the perennial problem of losing speed, so we'll pull the throttle back. We're down to 4,000 feet. Miles out. Hoping to see a runway. Oh, it's on top of the ridge. Let's get some height. That's me falling into the valley. It's on top of the ridge. I remember this from pre-flight. When I was mapping the route out, I noticed it. There it is. Look, it's right in front of us, on top of the ridge line. So we'll fly over. We need to figure out which way the wind is though. So let's have a quick look at LittleNavMap. So although it says that here, 180, oh sorry, 229 knots. So it's going to be a crosswind wherever we do. We'll just loop round. Still being chucked around all over the place. Should we try and sort this out before we get there this time? He's done it again! I'm going to have to put my head right against it to be able to grab it. There we go. It is not lost on me that we are very high. And this is going to be a fun one, isn't it? So we're going to start crabbing now. Right wing down to hold the centre line. We're getting off the ground again. This is too dangerous. So if we release the rudder there, you can see straight away actually from outside. You'll see the plane start crabbing again. It's not too bad, but you can see it's starting to. Okay. So we need to turn right. The actual course we want, if we go and have a look at the map, is 145 degrees. So we'll go and get the course knob turned around to it. Whoa. Of course, because we've been manoeuvring, so it's pretty much trimmed out, except obviously the wind is trying to turn us inside out. How are we doing on engine gauges? So manifold pressure's fine, even though we're pushing it along. So autopilot is ready to go on. So we'll go back to heading mode. We'll re-engage altitude. Hold if we can press it. There we go. 5,000 feet's fine. And while the aeroplane fights with itself, our next leg. So we're going down 28 miles to the next airfield, Placerville. So I'm going to go 10 degrees to the right just to counter the wind. The trim, it's having a fit, isn't it? It's doing a good job though. Let's have a look at the engine gauges. So we're still on the high end on the oil pressure, but it's been like that all the flight, so 5,000 feet. I've got the mixture on about 50%, which seems to be alright. Should we have a look on those gauges and see what it says? So, engine analyzer. So why is this spark plugs firing? Does that mean they're not firing on the back two cylinders? So if I trim this out, leaning it right out to see if it makes any difference. So I'm using a Tobii head tracker. I'm just looking at the live stream comments down there. I was wondering why we don't get those indications. I need to read the book on this, obviously. nothing's broken. Ah, that they have switched on, but now 4 and 3 have gone off. I wonder how that works then, or what that indicates. I guess I'd have to go and read the book. Here's my multiplayer. Flight Sim's had problems with multiplayer the last few days. So if I go into Flight Sim, turn on nameplates. Look, I can see people. It's been unreliable though recently. So I wonder why cylinders 3 and 4 aren't firing. Seems a bit odd. So if I up the mixture, yeah, it's an odd one, isn't it? Anyway, let's put the tablet out of the way and not worry too much. The engine seems to be working. Although the amps are on 0. What have I missed? It's taken a few days to get used to the head tracker, I will say, but this, yeah, it's a Tobii Eye Tracker 5. I'm not using eye tracking. I switched it off in the settings, but I could turn on Ghost so you can see where I'm looking. So if I turn on Ghost, the easiest way for me to hack this is to launch it and then come in here, go to settings and preview it, and you can see exactly where I look with my eyes. So as I look around the instruments, doing a scan for example, you can see where I'm looking. So that's the Tobii Eye Tracker actually following my gaze as against where my head's looking. So it can be quite off-putting, but I guess it might be interesting for some people. It's like I can look left and right across the screen. So I guess if you're doing an instructional video and you're wanting to draw attention to what you're looking at, to talk about something, then you can do that and it will work. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So if you're doing education with it, I guess it would pay for itself, wouldn't it? And now I've gone and switched it on, now I can't remember how to switch it off. There it is, Ghost. Open. Turn the preview off, close it, and there we go. So yeah, if you were an instructor and you were wanting to illustrate to a student what you are paying attention to, it would become really useful, I imagine. Or to make sure a student is doing the scan, because yeah, a lot of the time I'm looking back around the 6-pack of instruments, you know, just a glance now and again, see what's going on, and as you've seen, I've learned the hard way with Flight Sim to keep watching the engine gauges. Even though I've got damage switched off, that doesn't discount this aeroplane might launch itself at the earliest opportunity. It's 80 degrees, oh my word. Getting towards 30 centigrade out there. Okay, so we're getting close to the airfield. We are 8 miles out. So I'm going to come off the autopilot. Should we zoom in on the map so we can see it? I think it's over here, just the other side of this ridge, looking at the map. Have a quick look at LittleNavMap. This one's on a ridge as well, look, it's on the top of a ridge line of a hill. And it's going to be another crosswind. So we're probably looking at runway 23. Continue turning left. You see, here's the ridge coming up. We look out over the side of the cockpit. We can lean through the wall and be silly, but it kind of breaks the immersion, doesn't it? So Eddie G saying, just joined, it's the best GA aeroplane in the simulator, no question, by quite a long way. The flight model, the instrument modelling, the engine modelling is just head and shoulders above anything else at the moment. So yeah, you can see the engine operating here, so I'm going to lean it out a bit. And you can see, yeah, you can see each part of the engine actually, whether it's got failures and stuff, so we can do an inspect. And it's just very, very good. You can see what's switched on around the cockpit. You can see live information about the flight. And you get all the checklists. It's very, very good indeed. Okay, so there's this ridge. So let's have a look. Here's the airfield on the ridge that we were talking about. I think that's it. Or is that it over there? Or is that it over there? I think that's it over there, isn't it? How far away is it supposed to be? 2.5 miles away. Yeah, that's the one on the ridge line. So let's get the gear back down. Remembering last time how difficult it was to do. I would like to have more time to line up though. So I'm just going to go for a wider turn in on purpose for the crosswind. Straightened up in our seat. So as you can see, we're being pushed left by the wind. So what we'll do is crab and then turn the nose to the runway direction with the rudder and then dip the left wing to maintain the appropriate positioning, or dip the right wing in this case. Remember, we're only doing a touch and go. Gear up. See the crab angle there to hold the wind. It's quite a high one. So does this aircraft simulate flap damage from overspeed? I don't know, because I've not oversped the flaps yet, and I've got to be honest, I've got stress turned off in the sim. I do a lot of group flights, so I tend to have damage off for that reason, because obviously you don't want to mess a group flight up by suddenly disappearing. And in the middle of a live stream as well. So Gaming Bubble says, do you have any intentions of getting a PPL? I can't afford it. That's why I have a simulator. So let's start the turn. I have 3 daughters. And that's why I don't have a PPL. I'm not using Track IR, I'm using a Tobii Eye Tracker. Somebody, an instructor that I've been talking to now and again, that's helped me out with some of the exercises I did a while back, the GA pilot, basic airmanship skills videos I did. He said it would be really interesting for me to go to my local flying club, which is Wickham Air Park, and to pay one of the instructors to do a couple of hours and get a GoPro or something and put it out on YouTube to but I think lots of people have already done it, and it's kind of been proven if you can do this, you can do it in the real plane. And I have flown a real plane years ago. So our next door neighbour was learning to fly, and he said if anything, because I was quite a natural because of the simulator at flying with instruments, so I didn't have to look outside, which was a major failing because I should have been looking outside and obviously scanning for other aircraft. But he told me to fly, heading and a altitude and the speed, and I did it like a robot by obsessing over the instruments and just flying it basically like IMC conditions. But yeah, so I've kind of proven it. I could quite happily fly a real plane. If anything, the real plane was easier than the simulator, because you've got that feeling that you don't have when you have to go via your eyes to see the movement. But by the same token, the thing that I think the simulator does help you with is being able to switch off your senses and just look at the instruments and trust what they're doing. Which, if you've learnt VFR entirely in the real world, it's then a struggle to convert over to only trusting what you can see on a bunch of instruments in front of you. You only have to watch some of these accident videos, don't you, to realise that that's what goes on, where people have got into trouble, where they, got into cloud or whatever, and ended up the wrong way up. But it must be difficult, I guess, to defeat your senses in those situations if you've not done it a lot. Especially if you're feeling something different. I was talking to a real pilot about it a little while ago, and I forget what the example was they cited, but there are various manoeuvres you can do where you can't tell just from your ears what's going on. Whether you're descending rapidly or turning or banking, and it can completely fool you. which is why you have to be able to switch your sensors off. The problem comes if you've got instruments not working correctly. So say you've got a faulty attitude indicator, then you have to rely on your ears potentially if you lose sight, and you can't rely on your ears in that situation. There are various other things you can do, like watching the compass to see if the aircraft's rotating, and watching obviously vertical speed. But then what if you've frozen up the pitot tube? So yeah, if you look through the there's a huge section in the guidebooks I've been reading about the human performance in an aircraft, and it's all about that kind of, you know, switching off your senses and relying on the information you have, which is quite difficult to process sometimes, to figure out, what do I have, what can I trust. And also the problem of saturation then, with if you've got too many inputs going on. Quite often see that on group flights actually. If somebody isn't familiar with a particular aeroplane, they'll often get behind the aeroplane, and it usually leads to disaster. Well, not always, but it doesn't always go, you know, as the pilot would have wished. I'm getting those white boxes again, so if I press F12 a couple of times, it seems to... no, it doesn't cure it. Is it because of pressing F, maybe? Yes, it is. Oh no. Apparently it's a common head tracking issue, that you get these white boxes appearing around the outside of instruments. It was doing it on the GTN 750 earlier. So we're slowly making our way over to Bear Valley, and what I'm going to do is going to go and put the autopilot on. So I've lined up the so we go heading mode, and we go altitude, whoops, altitude. I'll look from this angle, shall I? So I'm not going to click on it. Have we got the blue button yet? No, the blue light, sorry. There we go. So let's have a look on the map. We probably want a few more degrees to the left. Just get the course on so we can see what sort of direction we're going. It's close enough. So at least we'll have a nice easy touch and go at Bear Valley, because it will be directly into the wind. And if the wind is that direction down there, it's 200 degrees 9 knots. Yeah, which is pretty much what we're seeing there, but just not as strong at ground level. Oh, we didn't turn off the landing gear, the motor. Well, it's interesting. I'm just reading the comment there by Pilot Guy. It's interesting though, because the major failing I had of trusting the instruments almost totally was I didn't then feel what the aeroplane was doing, which made me late reacting to changes in attitude, because I disregarded feeling the plane starting to fall or to climb. So it was only once I scanned and saw the vertical speed, for example, that I realised. Whereas obviously you would feel it instantly on a calm day, and it gets into that whole circular conversation, I guess. What are A2A doing next? I don't know. It's typical though, isn't it? The moment this was released, their forums were full of people saying, when are you going to release this? When are you going to release that? Like they're an infinite number of developers. Are we going to hit that hill? Hopefully not. Should we have a look at this? 17 miles to run. Right, I'm going to convert some of our airspeed into altitude. We get to 7,500 feet, we'll stop being chucked around so much as well. Okay, let's trim this back out for level flight. Press this mode button again. The airplane's busy trying to tip itself over. Heading mode, and you have to do this from an angle. There we go. Altitude hold, nearly 8,000 feet now. So there's a little lake over there that we're seeing. Is Camp Winton. That's not the actual lake name though, I guess. Bear River Lake. Okay. And then we've got Salt Springs Reservoir coming up off the nose in a moment, just down in the valley. Autopilot is working overtime, isn't it, as we come through these valleys. There's the reservoir. Be interesting to see what this is. It's just like a filtration system for cleaning the water. They seem to have gravel beds, don't they, to do that sort of trick. And you get stuff growing on the gravel that cleans the water automatically. Kind of a green solution to the problem. That autopilot's having a fit, isn't it? Why is it always trimming down? It's never trimming up. Why is that? Vertical speed's absolutely rock solid. 8,100 feet. Right, we need to start looking out for this airfield. Presumably it's just looking at the map, it's on top of this ridge, isn't it? So let's come off the autopilot. Again, we'll convert some airspeed, and we're going to have to lean the engine out further. We're getting pretty high. Is this it here? There's a straight feature in the scrub. .9,000 feet at the moment. Maybe not. Need to find the runway. Find the runway is the question. Maybe it's further away than I think. Is it down in the valley down here then? So we have a bit of a descent to do. Next to or in front of a lake, so we're going straight towards it, but I just can't see it yet. Oh, there it is, right in front of us. So pull the throttle back. We're gonna have to circle, obviously, but I think we said we have to come in the other end, didn't we? Yeah. So there's the airfield. That means we'll be coming in over that outcrop though. Oh, that's going to be fun. So we're going to have to come over this ridge to come into the runway. Hopefully it isn't too high. Better appreciation of it in a moment, won't we, when we turn around. So I guess we use this as a reference. Turn in here, so let's get the gear down now. I'm just going to center my view up as well. Everything for speed. The hills are going to be fine, isn't it? It's not too much in the way. At least we don't have to side slip it in this time, hey? Perilously close to overspeeding the flaps. I'm going to have to side slip it just to slow us down. there's no way this would work for a touchdown, but we're only going for a touch and go, thankfully, so... Oh, I don't know, they'll probably be alright. Yeah, we would have to go around if we were doing a full stop. Slam and go. So gear up. Having to be careful now about the altitude. We're at 7,000 feet and it's really struggling to pick up speed. Yeah, it's getting thin. Just being mindful of that on the climb out. Let's go for 500 feet a minute or so. Okay, we need to do a U-turn. So, which is the best way to turn? This way. There's a big valley we can fall into. Climb rate low while we're still accelerating. Obviously with the wings tipped over they're not generating as much lift either, so... Whew. Okay. I have a horrible feeling the second to last runway might be incredibly high. So we might not land there, we might go straight for Tahoe. Back up to 140 miles an hour, which is how many knots? 120 knots. Everything on the engine. Manifold pressure is a bit low, but that's because of altitude. The cylinder head temperature is getting lower. Oil pressure is a bit higher than it was. I imagine the oil pressure is a problem because I've been running the engine so hard for so long. So let's pull down the manifold pressure a bit, see if it helps it. Snowy. So what's the altitude? Elevation 6,000 feet or thereabouts for Alpine County then. So the one we've just come in at was 7,000, so it's not as bad actually, so we'll be descending down into it. Stressful flight. So CWK19 says, "Hi Jonathan, love your content recently. It's really helpful and interesting. We'll be doing some more airport scenery reviews, first look videos." Yeah, I've kind of run out of aeroplanes. To be honest, I've stayed away from scenery reviews to a certain extent, although some developers have approached me, like Simulations did. And Parallel 42 offered a while ago if I wanted to review any of their stuff, but I'd already bought the ones I wanted at that point. Yeah, it would be an interesting one. Trouble is, buying scenery, it's a bit of a, I don't know, it's a never-ending thing, isn't it? And there's only so many ways you can look at an airport and say, unless you've actually been there, you've no way of knowing how accurate it might be. I'm still super impressed with the free Kern Valley one. It's probably the best freeware scenery I've seen. I know the Gatwick airport is supposed to be very good, but then there's just been one of the developers has made a Gatwick recently, haven't they? And a Stansted as well. Yeah, revisiting aircraft as well. Go back to planes we haven't flown for a while. I guess we could go back to airplanes you can't buy anymore, couldn't we? Things like the Twin Otter. I wonder what's going to happen with that. Do you think they've pulled it because they're building missions with it for Flight Sim 24? It would make sense. It is the kind of aircraft you would do missions with. Would you please pull up the emergency checklist for emergency landing gear extension? Let's go and have a look at it and see what it says. Controls, maintenance. Where is it? Where are the checklists? Where have they hidden them? Oh, here they are. Emergency checklists. Master switch on, circuit breakers check, navigation lights off, gear indicator bulbs check. If gear not down and locked, airspeed 100 miles per hour or below, gear selector down. Click on the red knob on the emergency landing gear extension handle to extend the gear. So that's the lever down here, isn't it? I'm not going to do it. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Twin Otter reappears in 2024 with missions to do with it. Okay, so we're coming in towards Alpine County. It's just the other side of the valley then. I'll get too low, had I? I'm at 8,000 feet at the moment. Need to spot the runway first. Is that it over there? Should we zoom in on this a little bit? There it is. So same deal, I guess. Go north of it, come back in. kind of circuit. We're far enough away this time. Already got rid of the speed, just need to get rid of some altitude. We've got plenty of time to do that. So while we're going downwind, let's go and get the... Oh, I've done it again. I need to remap that switch and have a specific profile for this aircraft to stop that from happening. Okay, let's just... 90-degree turn coming up. So much easier when you're not in a rush, isn't it? And we're into the wind as well, which is helping enormously. Maybe I'll float over this big hump in the runway though until we get onto level ground. Enough of that runway. Again, playing the same game, nice shallow climb out to get some speed back. And on to our final destination in a moment. So I was going to say, it's a closer turn to the right, but there's a hill in the way. Maybe if I just skirt the hill, keep an eye on that climb rate. Nice big lazy turn around the top of this hill. I'm just wary of getting too slow on a climb out because of the air being so thin. So we're at 7,000 feet nearly. Okay, we're off towards Tahoe. I guess we go through that gap in the hills over there. Is there another way? I have to start looking at the map. Because there's this pass here, you can see it on the contours. I guess we go through there. So we're 15 miles away from Tahoe. I've just trimmed it out for a moment. Let's have a look. So yeah, we can follow the road all the way in. That's exactly what we'll do. Just sorry about that. Just centering the tracker up. How's the fuel and everything doing? Let's have a look. Are we still good? Gallons, we've still got half a tank. Could have done the journey twice. So are we going to face any obstacles on our way down this valley? I haven't flown into Tahoe since I did a video with the BAE 146 a very long time ago. Or I think it was a 146. Just going to check what's happening. Blimey, it's nearly midnight. So we are just going to continue to follow the road and the river, I guess. See some traffic down there, probably. Yep. Presume it goes left to that next pass. So we'll try and get some altitude now so we're not in a panic, and so we've at least got room here to turn back if we need to circle. Where we are climbing and we're getting into the thin air. Be the highest point, and then it's dropped down through this gap straight into Tahoe basically. Yeah, you can see the lake and you can see the airfield as well. Should have a look at it from outside. We have arrived, ladies and gentlemen. Tahoe. You can see it's very good visibility today. Look, you can see all the way around. My turbulence is set to realistic. Ever fly the Mach Loop? Yeah, I've got loads of videos of the Mach Loop. Someone was asking me the other day if I could go back up to the Mach Loop in the Hawk with the Tobii Eye Tracker to see what it looks like, because obviously you can play games with, you know, leading through steep turns by looking up, which is quite interesting. Okay, we need to lose some speed. And again, I don't believe this. And again, the turbulence is so bad I can't get the gear down because it's got this three-way switch which doesn't map to the controller. And now I can't put the flaps down because I'm too fast. Oh my word. We've got a hugely long runway though. It's not really designed for GA aeroplanes. Yeah, we go, look. Because we're coming into the wind anyway, it's helped us enormously. So, first stage of flaps. We could do a landing without flaps, to be honest, and just keep the speed up. It's such a long runway, it wouldn't hurt. Back up. I'm gonna go and park. Of course, we need to take the strobes off, don't we? Let's get the yoke out of the way for the moment. Strobes off. Didn't use the landing lights, oh well. Talk of the devil, looks what is parked up outside of the terminal building at Tahoe. Okay, let's pull the mixture. And magneto's off. And pitot heat can come off. And avionics or autopilot can go back to off. Avionics can come off. Master switch can come off. And unlock the door. Whew. Can relax a little bit now. So, can we actually move? Yeah, it's got clipping at the side so that you can't skid outside, which is a shame. But there we go. There's our little aeroplane that we've just flown across the mountains. The A2A Piper 250 Comanche. Welcome to South Lake Tahoe. Very cool. So, just out of interest, does that mean they have... how do we do this? Does that mean they have built the insides of the building? Can we actually go in there? Yes, we can. I've no doubt it doesn't bear much relation, because they wouldn't have a row of dustbins, for example, in the real building, would they? Or would they? Did I see a bar up there? Yeah, it doesn't look. It clips you and forces you above the building. That's a shame. Anyway, we weren't here for that. We were here just to fly this thing. Oh, I'm going to go and have a cup of coffee and chill out for a bit. My neck is killing me from doing the that with the head tracking for so long, because I have to keep my head very still so the camera doesn't jump around all over the place. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Hopefully you enjoyed that, and I'll see you all again soon. Please do click like, subscribe and all the rest of it for the channel. It does help. And yeah, I'll try and think up what to do next. Suggestions are welcome.